So, welcome to this certificate course on behavioral economics. Okay, so today we'll be starting with this and we will try to understand what is economics, the basic of economics. Okay, what is the conventional economics and how behavioral economics is different from that conventional economic thinking that is taught to economic students. Okay, and what are the applications of this behavioral economics. Okay, as we know that this field is getting very popular these days, and we have seen different economic Nobel prizes in these fields, in the field of behavioral economics. Okay, so before getting into this topic of behavioral economics, first let's learn about economics. What is economics, and what is the thought of economic theories that is taught to the economic students. Okay, so that we can get an idea. Okay, and then we will be better able to distinguish between these two things. Okay, that how behavioral economics is different from economics. So it is a branch of economics only. It tries to answer those questions only that are answered in economics, but with a different perspective. Okay, so what is economics? Economics is a social science. Okay, because it deals in human behavior. Economics basically is the study of how people use the limited resources which have alternative uses. Okay, effectively and efficiently. How people are effectively and efficiently using these resources which are scarce in the society. Okay, so under the condition of scarcity, how you are employing these resources effectively and efficiently. Okay, so efficient utilization of resources is what is economics about. Okay, but efficient utilization, what is efficient utilization? Efficient utilization means minimum wastage. Okay, with minimum wastage, how you are able to utilize the resources. So uh, economics studies human interaction with value can be value of any resource. Okay, so we usually measure the value in monetary terms in economics. Okay, so whatever resource you are talking about, we talk in terms of money, whether it is actual money, whether it is time as a resource, whether it is any input that you are using for production or anything, whatever resource you are using. Okay, we are interested in the value of that resource. Okay, now this value may be the production, consumption, or distribution of goods. Okay, and the goods may be tangible or intangible. Okay, so tangible like money, the physical which you can touch, see. Okay, and intangible like time, which you cannot touch or see. So economics studies how humans make choices about these resources. Okay, so efficient choices, efficient decision making regarding the resources. Okay, now why you want to make a choice? Okay, we want to make a choice because the resources are limited and they have alternative uses. So I have to choose. Due to this limitation, scarcity of resources, I have to make choices. Okay, how to use these resources, where to use these resources, which resources to use, in how much quantity. These are the some common choices that we make. Economics utilizes assumptions and models surrounding decisions and incentive to ensure maximum efficiency. Okay, so uh, in economics we have lot of assumptions. Okay, we work around assumptions, we have some theories based on the assumption, and the most common assumption is citrus paribus. Okay, citrus paribus means all other factors are constant. So whatever model you are trying to study, whatever field you are trying to study, or whatever element, or we can say variable you are trying to study. Okay, so citrus paribus is a common assumption that is used in economics. Okay, now again, ceteris paribus means that all other factors are constant. For example, when we talk about law of demand, law of demand is what? Law of demand relates price of the good with the quantity demanded of that good. Okay, price of the good with the quantity demanded of that good. So when we talk about this relationship, okay, so there is price and quantity demanded. Okay, so how price changes and it leads to changes in quantity demanded. So basically there is an inverse relationship. This is what law of demand says. Okay, so this relationship is based on the assumption that when all other factors that are impacting quantity demanded are held constant. Okay, in all economic model we have this assumption of ceteris paribus. Okay, maybe my spellings might be wrong, uh, so you can just use Google to check the spellings, but the idea is ceteris paribus. Ceteris paribus itself means all other factors are constant. Okay, so uh, any model, any economic theory you can choose. Okay, so it is based on these kind of assumptions. If we are talking about relationship between two variables, then we are keeping all other variables impacting them as a constant. Okay, so this is a common assumption, though there are different assumptions based on different models. Okay, but this is one of the most common. So the idea is that in economics we utilize assumption and models, okay, surrounding the decision and incentive to ensure maximum efficiency. Okay, to look at the maximum impact, of the relationship between these two variables. Okay, so economic assumes that humans are rational decision makers. Rational decision makers, that is profit maximizers. Okay, or you can say utility maximizers, whatever. Okay, so basically you maximize your gain, you think about your gains, you try to maximize them. Okay, this is how a person thinks. Okay, there is this concept of homo economicus. Okay, the rational human. Okay, who is a profit maximizer and always try to maximize their gain. So there is only rational decision making. Okay, no emotional impact is there. Okay, so the idea is that you are not thinking about charity, you are not thinking about friendship or anything. Okay, you are just maximizing your profit. That's the decision that you want to take. Now, these assumptions are there because we assume that, or we want to achieve maximum efficiency. Okay, now this maximum efficiency can only be achieved if you are rational thinker. If you are rational thinker, only then you can achieve that maximum efficient level of any resource you are talking about. Okay, so if there are emotions, if there are other things that are impacting your decisions, then your decisions are not rational, they are emotional. And if decisions are emotional, you are not achieving that maximum efficient outcome. Okay, and this is the case that actually happens in the real world. We are not achieving any maximum efficient output. We are interacting with other people, we are being influenced with other people, we have our own emotions also that are influencing our decisions. That's why it's not the most efficient decision that you are actually taking. But economic assumes that you take, efficient decisions and you are a rational decision maker, which is not the case in actual world. Okay, so this is where the emotions, the psychology comes in. Okay, and this is where the behavioral economics starts. Okay, now economics study is divided into the two parts of microeconomics and macroeconomics, two types of economics. Okay, two major areas. Okay, so microeconomic is the study of individual level of an economy, like a seller, a buyer. Okay, individual level, small level. Macroeconomic is the study, you can say, of the whole economy, of the whole country, the national income and all those terms. Okay, behavioral economics is a subsection of microeconomics as it focuses on individual decision making. So we are talking about individual decision making in behavioral economics, and this is what it studies. Now let's look at psychology and behavior. Now, when we are talking about behavioral economics, we are talking about behavior. Behavior is the psychology. Behavior is impacted by the psychology of a person. Okay, behavior depends on the psychology of a person. Okay, psychology is the study of human behavior, cognitive mechanisms, emotions, motivations that results in different types of behaviors. Okay, your emotions, your motivations. Okay, all these things result in different type of behaviors. A same person can behave in two different ways under the impact of these emotions and cognitive mechanisms. Okay, uh, you can act different in different situations. Okay, uh, so that's the idea. Okay, and this is what psychology is studying. Okay, so subtopics such as neuroeconomics, pro-social behavior, loss aversion, happiness studies, all these gives insight into human behavior. Psychology of decision making takes into account these factors and theories when predicting behavior. Okay, so when you are talking about psychology, you are taking all these things into account, okay, when you are talking about the psychological study of the behavior. Okay, in economics we are not taking all these things into the account. In economics we have assumption of rationality, we are assuming that you are rational, okay, but actually you are not. So psychology is studying all these things that are impacting your behavior, okay, and based on that, uh, how you will behave, that is kind of predicted, you can say. Okay, so psychology of decision making takes into account these factors and theories when they try to predict the behavior. Both psychology and economics study human behavior. Economic theories on decision making are based on human behavior. Economics assume, however, that humans are rational decision maker, and majority of the early theories are based on these assumptions. Okay, so uh, both psychology and economics are, you can say, have originated from philosophy. Okay, both look at human behavior but with a different perspective. Okay, and you can say somewhere behavioral economics is the middle ground, you can say. Okay, so we all know that to some extent that these economic assumptions of rationality are somewhat not that practical, they are not that much realistic. Okay, so what actually a person do, okay, is what you are trying to study. Okay, because you cannot ignore impact of emotion and all those things. Psychology states that humans are not always rational in their decision making and attempts to account for the limitation posed by the rational human assumptions. So obviously there are many limitations. Okay, we'll be looking at those. Okay, psychology is informative on how people make their decisions, where economists use this information to predict how to a certain product may sell or determine how to market a product in order to get more sales. Okay, so this is the idea of uh, these studies. Okay, so economists use the same information with a different perspective. Okay, and psychology is using the same information with a different perspective, and obviously they have their own way, their own method also, how to look at this information. Okay, now behavioral economics, okay, as opposed to classical economic theories of these rationalities and all everything, behavioral economics studies how psychological aspects such as cognitive ability or emotions affect the human decision making process. Because we know there is no thumb rule when you are interacting with people. Okay, so there are a lot of other things that impact your emotions, maybe at what state of mind you are in a particular day, on a particular day, at a particular time, and you are making some decisions. Okay, one day you are taking very good financial decisions, one day you might be taking poor financial decisions. Okay, and that's completely normal and very common to observe in real world. Now, what are the goal of behavioral economics? Okay, we have seen what it is, but what is the aim of studying this behavioral economics? Behavioral economics depends on psychological experimentation to study human decision making, to build theories and frameworks. These theories and frameworks attempt to inform the decision making process in a more realistic way. Okay, that how you are making decisions in a practical situation. Okay, as opposed to a bookish scenario. Behavioral economics attempts to change the general perspective or assumptions economists hold about human interpretations of value and preferences. Okay, history. Psychology and economics did not cross paths until both fields were well developed on their own. Psychologists like Daniel Kahneman, Amos Tversky, Ward Edwards, and Duncan Lewis initially drew lines between psychology and economics. They built behavioral economic theories on the foundation of classical economic theories, such as expected utility theory. Okay, Richard Thaler is called the father of economics for his significant contribution. I guess it should be behavioral economics, not economics. Okay, so for his contribution towards the subject of behavioral economics. Okay, okay. So we can just skip these things and come to application of behavioral economics. What are the applications of behavioral economics? Okay, first is policy making. Policy making is gathering plans, ideas, and information to provide a basis for decision making. Policy making may be inherited by a body of people to give individuals a guideline when making some decisions. Okay, that's what policy making is about. Okay, now this requires understanding decision making biases, heuristics, and cognitive abilities of these individuals in order for the policy to be effective and practical. Okay, you should understand the decision making processes, you should understand what impacts the decision making. Okay, when you're making a policy, okay, you should be mindful of about actually a person will think or behave. Okay, so that you can, you can include those factors in your policy making. Okay, this will make the policy, the process or the result more efficient. Okay, if you know that what factors will be, will be there in the actual world. Okay, you cannot rely on just set some mathematical models. Okay, but you should understand that how actual decision making will work. Nudge and choice architecture are used to guide policy making. Now, what is this heuristics? What is this nudge? What is this choice architecture? We'll be covering these things. Okay, these are very important. You can say concepts in behavioral economics. Okay, and as you will understand these concepts, you will understand much about your own decision making. Also, it's not about only the decision making of other people or you. It's not only about a subject like behavioral economics, but it's more about how you are making decisions, and you will be able to relate to these factors once you will know how these heuristics, what these things are, what these nudges are. We are facing all these things in our daily life. We are making decisions under the impact of these things. This is what we'll be studying. Second aim, you can say, or one of the other aim of this behavioral economics is business management. Now, behavioral economics may be used within business management in multiple areas: talent management, marketing, product pricing, product design, customer satisfaction. There are a lot of things these days. You can say for product designing, for example, UX is these days very important. UX, that how user will experience, how they will interact with the product. Okay, okay, so that is very important. Keeping all those things in mind, basically the focus is on the decision making and the psychology of the customer. Marketing is obviously about the psychology, and there are a lot of cognitive biases which are applied in marketing. We will be covering those. Okay, then product pricing is also a very crucial thing. And if you want to, for people to buy a product, you should know their, first is obviously you should know their economic capability, but then how they will perceive the price. And if even if you want to give discounts and all, you should know how a person will perceive your offer or something. Okay, so how customers are going to interact, or what their experience is going to be with the product, or whatever campaign you have, or whatever type of promotion you are doing, all those things. On all these areas of business management, you are applying the concepts of psychology and behavioral economics. Nudge and choice architecture can help in maximize the result in these areas. Okay, now what these are, again we will be covering those. Okay, so talking about these areas, then talent management is there. Behavioral economics can be used to understand employee behavior and needs, may be utilized in policy making in organization to encourage employees, may be utilized when inflicting systematic changes within the company to ensure optimal employee cooperation, can also be used when determining remuneration packages, bonuses, etc. All these things. Okay, okay, so in organizational behavior context also behavioral economics is used. Okay, so again the how businesses are applying, basically marketing is obviously, I've told you that there are lot of cognitive biases, lot of tricks, you can say, not exactly tricks, but lot of concepts of behavioral economics that are used in daily life. You are facing these things whenever you're going on a website, whenever there is a discount, whenever there is an ad you see. Okay, any promotional thing that is there. Okay, so you are facing these things. We'll be covering what exactly in marketing, how these things are applied. Then product pricing, customer satisfaction, and their loyalty, how to gain loyalty of a customer, how to develop that brand loyalty, customer satisfaction. Okay, that is also very important. And Since again you are talking about consumer behavior, so it is behavior. Okay, and you should understand what factors are impacting the behavior. Okay, it's not rigid, it's not a rule of thumb. When you do talk about behavior, it's not a mathematical equation. Okay, it's more flexible thing. Okay, from person to person, from situation to situation, from season to season, day night, behavioral behavioral responses of a person might differ, or same person might act differently in different situations. How you are placing your product in front of them, the strategies that you are trying to follow. Okay, all these things are very important when you talk about these things. Okay, now very important thing is considering the culture. you know Cultural background of a person will impact their decision a lot. Okay, individual behavior is largely affected by the culture. Majority of behavioral economic theories are developed with research conducted in western countries currently. Okay, even others are also working in these areas. So these days, this thing is getting attention, a lot of attention. Okay, this research is assumed to be cross culturally accurate. However, practically it may not be the case. Okay, so obviously, if you are trying to do a study regarding a particular concept on a particular culture, people of a particular culture, that might differ in other culture. Okay, because it's how a person perceives. For example, colors, even colors are perceived differently in culture to culture. Okay, for example, in Indian cultures, mostly white is associated with mourning and sad things. Okay, uh, 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 but in western cultures you will see that bright dresses, and in marriage occasions like marriage and all, people wear white. Okay, dress code is white. Okay, this is how you will perceive a color. Okay, so there are very small things that will put an impact. Okay, and your culture have that power to influence your behavior. Okay, so cross cultural studies are also important when you're trying to set the target audience. Maybe, for example, one of the application, okay, is when you're trying to see which market you want to tap, which market you want to get into. You should study that, what is their cultural thinking. Okay, and how they will respond to your offers. Okay, maybe if one set or one strategy is working in one culture, that might not work in another. Okay, so when applying behavioral economic theories, it is important to first analyze the culture it is enacted on to understand the human behavior. The products arising from behavioral economics should also be culturally appropriate. So there are many TEDx videos that you might find on YouTube that uh, you know uh, might help you more in building, or not exactly building a perspective, but will tell you more of how behavioral aspects, okay, are so important in promoting a product. Okay, now let's talk about rationality. Okay, rationality, the assumption for the classical economics, the very important assumption. Okay, so rational choice theory states that humans make decisions that benefit their personal goals. They are gain maximizers. These decisions are made through rational analysis and calculations. The theory assumes that rational actors try to maximize advantage and minimize the losses. Okay, economists use the assumption to predict decision making and the structures that are affected thereafter. The theory is associated with other theories like self-interest and invisible hand. Invisible hand and self-interest. What is invisible hand? In the invisible hand theory in economics, we basically talk about the demand and supply. Okay, we talk about demand and supply and the equilibrium in the market that will lead to the price prevailing in the market. Okay, so it says that if markets are left on their own without any government intervention, okay, the individual hands, the forces of demand and supply, will automatically adjust themselves in a way where they come to an equilibrium price, where the price that our suppliers are ready to accept is equal to the price that consumers are ready to pay. Okay, even if there are situations of a higher price or a lower price, the market forces will automatically adjust to reach the equilibrium price level. Okay, So this is the invisible hand theory. Invisible hand is a metaphor used to describe the non-obvious invisible factors that influence a market that is solely run on the laws of supply and demand. Okay, a free market, no government intervention is there. Invisible hand takes on the assumption of self-interest, that is, the human makes decisions for their own benefit. The assumptions of self-interest drives the supply and demand model. If there is a self-serving benefit from a product, it will produce a demand for it. Simple. Okay. Also, that's the assumption on which the theory is working. Okay, the rational choice theory. Now, assumptions in the rational choice theory is first individualism. Individuals are the actors in the society and economy. Individual decisions are the determinants of higher structures. Like, what a decision, okay, what type of decision is taken on individual level in an economy, okay, will be determining, how the markets will go. Like, if people are positive about a stock price, okay, then they will demand the stock, and the prices of stock will be, will be impacted in the similar manner. Okay, so similarly, every day there is a trend. Some things are in trend, some things are out of trend, so consumer preferences are changing. Okay, so these things that an individual's impact collectively, they are basically impacting the market. Optimization. Individuals make decisions that are optimal to their situation. However, this may not be objectively optimal. Okay. So personally optimal decisions. Okay. Then self-regarding interest. The individual will act for their personal benefit. The benefit may be direct or indirect. Self-regarding interest is different from optimization, as some situations may require and decision that is self-serving but not optimal. Again, so rationality is overarching assumption that all decisions are made rationally, that is without any emotional impact on the decisions, logical decisions. Okay, decision making process under this theory is more about, first there is a goal development, that what you want to achieve. Then the determining the criteria for the decisions. Okay, what decision you are taking, whatever decision you will take, okay, on what basis, okay, what options you have or whatever. Okay, then you have the determining the alternatives. Okay, if not this, then what. Okay, then analyze all the options that you have and then make the final decision. For example, if a business want to make an investment, okay, they have a goal to get a maximum return from the investment. Okay, they will determine some criteria of what investments are there. Okay, and then they will determine the alternative options of investment or alternative sources of investment. Okay, then they will analyze all these options. Okay, they will talk about the opportunity cost. Okay, then they will take the final decisions. Okay, opportunity cost is the cost of the next best alternative foregone. So if I have, so we talked about scarcity in resources. Okay, so money is a scarce resource. Okay, a business want to invest money, so they have limited money. Okay, if they put money in one investment, okay, then obviously they don't have money for other investment. Okay, so they have to choose because of this scarcity. Now, opportunity cost is the cost of next best alternative foregone. That is, if I'm choosing option A and declining option B, okay, then the opportunity cost of that option A, okay, is the benefit that I'm rejecting by rejecting option B. The benefits that I'm losing by rejecting option B will be the opportunity cost for option A that I have chosen. Okay, so this is opportunity cost. So these things are kept into mind while making the decision making. This is the decision making chart. But overall we have discussed what steps are involved, okay, in this. Now there are criticism to the theory, obviously. Okay, so rational choice theory, you are assuming the rationality. Okay, but humans sometimes don't have all the information necessary to make a rational decision. Obviously, to make a rational decision you need all the information. Okay, so it is also assumption that there is a perfect information, but there is no perfect information. There's always imperfect information, asymmetric information. Okay, so obviously this is not the case. You cannot be informed about everything. Okay, then limited cognitive ability to analyze the information. You cannot understand each and every information that I give you. Okay, maybe there are some more complicated information involved in that decision making process that you are not able to understand, and you are making your decision based on whatever limited knowledge you have. Okay, the theory does not account for different psychological states like emotion or moods that I have already told you that, if you are not considering emotions under this theory, which is again not practical. It doesn't account for social pressure like peer pressure, or what I talked about, the relationships and everything. Okay, so you just take, you just think about yourself and then make decisions. This is what RCT, the rational choice theory, says. So if you want to apply these things on yourself, you can just think of various decisions that you take every day. Just think of any decision that you make in your life, okay, that involve other persons also. Maybe, if you are going on a trip with your friends, okay, and maybe you want to go to Goa, they want to go to a hilly region, okay, then what you chose and why you chose, okay, because maybe, you are influenced by your friends decisions, okay, or you are able to influence their decision, whatever. Okay, so these things, we every day we are in these kind of situations where we are choosing because we have limited resources. Okay, and that choice, that choosing according to economic theories, is rational. Okay, but here we are studying that there are a lot of behavioral aspects, lot of behavior impacts that are there, that will, make your decision, make your decisions vary from that actual optimal, okay, level. Then utility. So utility is what? Utility is the want satisfying power of something. Want satisfying, how useful that thing is, that is the utility that you're getting from anything. Okay, utility can be subjective and can be measured in different ways, that is monetary value, worth, and happiness. Okay, utility of something will vary from product to product, person to person, based on who you are, what you do, and everything, your situation and everything. Okay, uh, so there is no constant utility. It's not that one thing will have same utility for everyone. The utility will vary from person to person, and even, for a person, utility of a thing will vary from situation to situation. Okay, okay. So any object that brings some satisfaction to the situation has a utility. Now, obviously, it is a contextual thing. Okay, for example, having a certificate in music theory has no utility when you're attempting to cook something. Okay, so utility of that certificate is a subjective thing. What is utility theory? Utility theory attempts to describe the decision making process in economics. It states that people will rank their options according to the preferences. Okay, preferences and ranking are deduced through a logical and rational reasoning. This is what the utility theory says, and we use something called indifference curves. Okay, so basically each curve correspond to a utility level. So if it's 1 and 2, so utility along all these points. Okay, so what is a curve? Curve is a locus of some points. Okay, what are those points? Those points are combination of good x and y, any good that you are trying to choose between. Okay, and then there are some combination of these good where there is like more y and less x, or you can say more x less y, different combinations. Okay, so along a different curve, okay, the utility level is same for all these points. Okay, so when you join all those points which are giving you same utility level from different combination of good x and y, you will get an indifference curve. This is a way of this preference and ranking of different combinations, that are different options that are available to you. Okay, so this is what utility theory says, that you will rank things, you will order them, preferences. Okay, expected utility theory states three risk preferences. Okay, so if you are risk aversive, you will avoid the risk. If you are risk neutral, you are neutral to the risk. You don't, you are indifferent, you can say. And risk seeking person are those who are more likely to take a risk. Okay, risk preferences will be expanded on as we continue with this course. So there are a lot of things. There are a lot of so in behavioral economics, how these things are studied. We will look into that. Okay. Now, uh, talking again about that in different curves. Okay, preferences and everything. Okay, so the expected utility, and what is expected utility? Expected utility is basically, you know The expected gains, okay, maybe you can say the probability of that particular situation, and then the gain that you will maybe get from choosing that particular option, and the the you can say the uh, by adding all these kind of uh, equations, or not equations, by adding all these options, okay, you will get what we call expected utility, what you expect from a particular situation, okay. For example, again, an investment option is there, then uh, for each investment option, okay, so there are some gains, okay, so you will calculate the expected gain, that what return you can expect from that investment, okay. Based on that, you will see that whether this investment, I'm taking example of investment, it could be any situation, based on these calculations, basically according to utility theory, based on these calculation, which is known as expected utility, you will see that how risky an investment is, or how risky that situation is, or how profitable that situation is, and so on, okay, by these calculations. This is what utility theory is saying, okay. Again, it is very important concept in economics. The theory states that if ranking are complete, okay, more is better if A is preferred over B, if you have options A and B, and if A is preferred over B, okay, more of uh, A is preferred over B, and AX is preferred over A, okay. So uh, for example, if there is a bundle of goods, so I talked about the combinations of the goods, okay, and in different combination you have different quantities of the goods, okay. So if A is the good, let's say, and then AX is a quantity or a bundle of the same good with more of A, okay, then if A is preferred than B from B to B, then AX will be also preferred to B, because AX have more of A than the A. So A is one combination, you can say. AX is another combination where quantity of A is more than B, okay. And then B is obviously a bundle, so if A is preferred over B, AX is also preferred over B, and AX is preferred over this lesser A bundle also, okay. So more of A is preferred over less of A, you can say, okay. And if A is preferred over B is first thing, more of A is preferred over A, okay, and then obviously more of A is also preferred over B. Then mix is better if both A and B is preferred, a mix of both option will be preferred, okay. So this is the idea, that you would like to get some quantity of both the goods in some certain certain quantities. Coming back to expected utility theory looks to predict how decisions are made when the outcome is unknown. So you are using probabilities. Okay. Okay. So we talked about rationality. Now let's talk about irrationality. What is irrationality? When you are irrational. Okay. So the assumption of the rational choice theory that humans are objectively rational beings can have significant effect on the system based on the RCT, that is the stock market. Okay, is one example of such system. Therefore, economists need to factor in possibilities of irrationality. Okay, so when and how the irrationality will occur, you can say. So irrationality will obviously occur because there are emotions, there are cognitive biases, fallacies are there, impulsivity, taking impulsive decisions, heuristics are there, social pressure and discrimination, personal choices, all these things are there. Okay, emotion and moods impact your decisions, okay. uh, in different emotional states you take different decisions, maybe regarding the same thing you will act differently. So so these kind of complications are there when you talk about emotional and moods. That's why, for simplicity, economists ignore these things to make simplistic models which are calculative, and which will give you some calculations and some results. Cognitive biases. Cognitive biases, systematic psychological errors made when interpreting and processing information. Every day when you see an offer or something, you are facing some cognitive biases. Okay, we will be covering cognitive biases in more details, and we'll be looking at the examples that what actually is impacting your decisions, okay, and why you are irrational. Okay, everybody is irrational, nobody is rational. Rationality is just an assumption. Fallacies are errors made when building a logical arguments, okay, because you don't have complete information about everything. Impulsivity is you take impulsive quick decisions without analyzing the actual situation. Then we all do that. We make purchases in impulsiveness. Okay, now there are emotions also that impact this kind of behavior. That why somebody is purchasing something in impulsivity. Okay. Heuristics are cognitive shortcuts that help you in making decisions efficiently. Okay, now see, whenever you are buying something or you're making any decision, okay, you have some previous experiences. You use those experiences to make your decision. Okay, you have a certain information. Okay, you have a certain point of view. Okay, based on that, you are quickly deciding. Okay, that is heuristics. We will be covering that in much detail. Social pressure is something that is impacting and making you take irrational decisions. Discrimination, treating people differently due to prejudice and some things, okay, will give you, okay, will make you take some irrational decisions. Prospect theory, which is very important in behavioral economics. Okay, so prospect theory, just like utility theory, prospect theory attempts to predict how decisions are made when outcome is unknown. Okay, prospect theory states that human value gains and losses differently. The perception of gain, how you perceive a gain and loss, is different. Okay, how value is perceived depends on the reference point the gain or loss is viewed from. Okay, for instance, $10 gain for a homeless person would have a different value for a millionaire. Okay, for a homeless person with less money, $10 gain will be maybe a huge amount to be happy about, but maybe for a millionaire it's just a very small petty amount which he might not care about. Prospect theory utilizes risk preferences from expected utility theory and has stated in which scenarios people would be more risk aversive and risk seeking or risk neutral. Okay. Studies have shown that the majority of population is generally risk aversive. However, these preferences change according to whether the result is a gain or loss and the amount of gain and loss. Okay, so how you perceive risk and everything totally depends on what you are gaining and what you are losing, and then you have perspective, your own perspective regarding these things. Some people like to take big bets, some people like to take big bet on big amounts, okay, in stocks for example. Okay, so these things vary from person to person, so there is no single theory for that. Then loss aversion. A loss aversion states that people feel losses more than they would feel equivalent gains. Okay, so they feel more bad about the losses. Loss aversive person. They are less risk taker. Okay, they want to avoid the losses. That's the main thing. For example, if you were told there is a 30% chance of losing $100 and 70% chance of gaining $100, would you play the game? Now that's a question for you. Moving on, loss aversion. Rationally, the optimal choice would be to play the game. There is a higher chance of winning. Okay, if you take the probabilities, okay, 70% chances of gaining that amount. Okay, however, majority would decide not to play because they will focus more on that 30% loss. This is loss aversion. You are more, you are more sensitive to that loss. Okay, so there are some differences between prospect theory and expected value theory. These are the differences. You can just take a screenshot. Okay. Okay. So with this, uh, we will be starting this topic of choices and decision making. Now, obviously, choices and decision making are the most important part in economics and behavioral economics also. Okay, and you look at these things differently in both these subjects. Okay. Okay. Considering our limitations in making rational decisions, how do we approach decision making? Okay, do we actually make irrational decisions, or are we actually rational to the best of our ability? Now this is one thing. The information that you have, whatever you try to make rational decision. You don't want to put yourself in a lost situation on a purpose, but that the limited ability, or you can say the limited abilities due to the limited information you have. Okay, This might lead you to take some wrong decision which you can regret later. Okay, so this is thing. Are you using mental shortcuts wrong, the heuristics? Okay, if yes, why do we have them? Why we have those shortcuts in our brain? Why our brain uses these shortcuts to make decisions? Okay, so we have the topics of bounded rationality, heuristics, and biases. Okay, I'll be just going through quickly for now, just to give you a small picture of these. Okay, but in other classes we will be expanding on these things. Okay, so bounded rationality. The term bounded rationality, introduced by Herbert Simon in 1957. A bounded rationality accounts for the human limitations imposed on decision making. As we have already seen that there are a lot of you know limitations when it comes to emotions, cognitive biases, and everything, heuristics and all. Simply, it's not that humans are irrational. It's that their rationality is bounded by psychological and environmental obstacles. Okay, again, that rationality that we are talking about is what is defined in economics. Okay, so it's not that you are not a gain maximizer, you are trying to maximize your gain. You are not, you on purpose, you are not trying to lose anything. Okay, but then there are psychological factors, emotions, environmental obstacles, peer pressure, lot of things, social impact, cultural impact, everything, which is, which might make you take wrong decisions, and which might also make you take a better decision also. Okay, so it's not that it's only negative for your decision making. Okay, so rational irrational, when I'm talking about here, is it's more about, when I'm talking about rational, is rational in terms of classical economics. Okay, but that's not totally true. Okay, if you are able to take good decisions, even under impact of these psychological and environmental factors, then also you are taking a rational decision. Okay, so it is bounded rationality. You are rational, but it is bounded by these, limited by these things. Okay, so decisions taken are good enough. Okay, decision taken satisfy the individual needs, however, may not be objectively optimal. It is not that maximum level, but it is something positive only. Therefore, rationality is subjective to individual and the context. Context here is that difference between what economics think of rationality and what I am talking about, the bounded rationality. Psychological factors. There may be multiple psychological factors that affect decision making. Emotions and moods have significant impact on our psychological state, and certain decisions we make could be to ease our emotions. Yeah, for example, if you are sad, maybe doing shopping might make you happy. Okay, you're spending something. Okay, so there is something called impulsive buying and all those things. Okay, so that decision might impact your psychological state. Okay, your emotions and all. A lack of cognitive abilities to analyze a situation well also factors into making a decision. Okay, these decisions are not irrational, but rather optimally rational to the person's capacity. That is, again, this is not the maximum that you could have gained, but you can say you have somewhere settled for the less, but it's still positive for you. Environmental factors. Okay, maybe you have limited information about that particular scenario. For example, you're buying something on online, but you are not aware of a better discount on another site. Okay, so you are buying something looking at, okay, you have this much discount, but maybe there is a better discount somewhere else, but you don't have information about that. Okay, so time period to make a decision. Okay, whether you have lot of time to make a decision or you have to make a quick decision right now. Okay, then social pressure is there. uh, Consumption of drug or something, if you are under influence of something, that will influence your decisions. Heuristics are certain rules we follow when we make decisions to speed up the process. Okay, quick references from the past experiences. Heuristics helps to make decisions when there is a limited time. Okay, now they might not be the most rational decision, but the obviously, because in a limited time you won't be able to collect all the information. So it's important if you want to act now, or you want to gather all the information. That totally depends on the scenario. If you don't have that much time, what else you will do? An example would be the availability heuristic, okay, where we use the most recent or the most memorable information to make a quick decisions about the future. Okay, deciding to buy a product that says 50% less sugar on the packaging because it makes you feel healthier, but not actually checking the ingredients to see what type of sweeteners are being used. Okay, so that line, that is a quick thing, and it's written 50% less sugar, that what it means. Okay, but actually what alternatives they are using for that sugar is something you should check. What heuristics, I'm in a supermarket, I want to buy something, maybe I'm quickly doing a quick shopping or something, I'm already late for the shopping, I don't have that much time, so I just make these quick references, use these quick references. Biases are type of heuristic. They are unconscious or conscious judgments we hold on subjects that affect decisions made in that particular area. There are two types of biases: information processing and emotional biases. Okay, now some example of the biases are loss aversion bias, self-serving bias, confirmation bias. This is some examples. Okay, and we'll be continuing with these topics: heuristic, biases, the cultural factors, bounded rationality, how these things will impact your decision makings, and they do impact, and you are uh, rational to a limited extent. Okay, it's not that you are completely irrational. Okay, and obviously rationality kind of also impacts on what actual result you have gained from that decision, that will make it rational or irrational. Okay, uh, okay, so with this we are concluding the first class of this topic. Okay, and we'll be continuing in the next class. Thank you.